Hello, thank you all for being here with me today. And I will talk a little bit about how to speed up the process of creating external logic in ODC. Okay? But so let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Victor Savalage Pereira. I started to work with IT as a developer back in 2008, 2012. I met OutSystems for the first time, and currently I am a solutions architect and tech lead at Valantic. And just before we start, has anyone here already created any external logic in ODC? Right? No? Okay. Now, let's just start. Okay. Starting with extensions, right? So extension is the way that we have in OutSystems 11 to put C# code, put high code inside our OutSystems applications. Right? And to help us in this job, we have Integration Studio. Okay? That is a tool built by OutSystems. And here we can also connect to external databases to get data from other databases, but we can here create our C# code. We can create our actions, we can create our structures, and then we can open Visual Studio, code our logic, and then publish to Service Center so we can use inside our applications. And what about ODC? How can we do this in ODC? So ODC is a little bit different, right? So we still use Visual Studio, and we can also use VS Code if you want to, but we still use Visual Studio to code our extensions in C#. It's a little bit different because now we have a NuGet package, OutSystems SDK, that we have to download and put inside our library to make it work. And another difference is that now it uses C# 8, and it is not C# 4.7 or 0.8. Right? So things are a little bit different compared to OutSystems 11. And how do we do this? Okay, so first, we have to create an interface file. Right? An interface file, and then for each action that we want to expose, we have to create methods. Right? And as you can see, we are using some data notations to decorate the interface and also the actions. Right? Each action, each method of this will be transformed in one action, and in these annotations, we have a few attributes that we have to define, like description, resource name, icon resource name, if you want an icon in our extension, in our external logic. And the same goes for the method. So we have description, also an icon. We have to define the return type of our action, and also put a name. Right? The same goes for structures. Okay, so the same way that we do for the actions, to create structures, we have to create a new file. And inside this file, create a lot of structure elements. Right? Inside these structure elements, we can put our attributes, like integer, strings, dates, date and times, booleans, and so on. Right? The same way with the actions, we also have to use data notations to decorate the structures so ODC Portal can read this library later and make this available to our ODC applications. Right? And as you saw, it requires a little bit more of coding. Right? Before, in OutSystems 11, we just create a new extension file, click on a button, Visual Studio opens, and we just code our application. Here is a little bit different. We have to do something more manual. And the idea was, can't this be easier? Right? OutSystems provided to us a template project where we can just download and change and start working on our own extension. But, go back. Since we are all low-code developers, so we are using to low-code and we are using tools to help us in this process, with this in mind, I decided to create one tool to help us on this process. It's called the External Logic Studio. Okay, so it's a tool built on ODC to help us creating this and try to mimic what Integration Studio has to offer for us in OutSystems 11. Right? And what are its features? So first, we have the project and also unit test generation. Right? Inside the project, we can manage the actions, we can manage our structures, the same way that we do in Integration Studio. There's a GitHub integration, and I think this is very interesting because different from OutSystems 11, the only thing that is uploaded to the ODC portal is the binaries. So we don't upload the source code of the file. Right? So if by any chance you are working in a project and you don't version it you might lose your job and you have to redo everything again because you don't have this control. So in Service Center, you can just go to extension, download, and the source code there. ODC, we only upload the libraries. Right? There's also another feature to migrate the extension files. Right? So when we start migrating the OutSystems 11 applications to ODC, if we have a big extension file, a big shift file to upload, we can just, to merge, to convert, we can just upload it here, and all the structure will be created for us. So all the actions, input, output parameters, structures, and the attributes. Right? Another feature is AI content generation. This is not required, so the tool does not require the AI to work. But if you have OpenAI key, ChatGPT key, you can configure in a setting, and you can type a prompt, and we will make a call to OpenAI, to ChatGPT, and it will create the content of our action. Okay? Let's see if I have time. I also wanted to demo this part. Let's see if I have enough time to do it. Right? And let's just jump for a demo, okay, because I think this is the good part. So this is the tool, so simple login page. I will log in with using Google. You can use Google or username and password from the environment. The first page of the application is a list of projects, and this is exactly the same as the list of extensions that we have in Service Center. Okay, so we can see all of them here. I can search by all of them or only my projects. So let's try to create a new one. In the first tab, we have the basic information for the project. So I can give it a name. So let's call it 1 2024. We can give a description. 1 2024 presentation project. We can also pick an icon. Right? The icons here, they are shared across all the projects that we have. Okay, so these icons I already have in the database. They are here ready to use. I can pick one of them, or I can also create a new one from here if I want to. So I will cancel. Let's pick this ODC one. And here is where we configure the GitHub repository URL. Okay, the GitHub must not exist. Okay, so it has to be a completely new one. And I will just paste this one here. And so you can see this repository does not exist. Okay? It will be created by the application. Second tab, here we have the actions. Just like we have a tree and a menu in Integration Studio, here we can create and define all our actions. And let's create a very, very simple one, okay, just to demonstrate the tool. And you can see here we already have an error because action needs to have at least one parameter, input or output. Okay? Let's call this one some values. Okay? We can also add a description, so simple action to sum the input values. It's here. And then we can create our parameters. So I will add 3 parameters here. We can change their name to value 1, value 2, and output. So these 2 are inputs. This one I can just click and change to be the output 1. The data type, it will be integers. So it will be a really, really simple extension. We can also add a description on those if we want to. Other tab is the structures. Also the same that we have in Integration Studio, we can create our structures here and also use them in the actions. So again, let's create another structure, very simple one. Let's call st integer structure and a single attribute. It will be called value, and the data type, it will be also an integer. A simple warning here, just to warn us that this extension, this structure, is still not being used by any other action or any other structure inside the project. And now, since we have this one here, I just want to go back to this one and let's change it to a record. It's the same naming that we have in Integration Studio. I will change all of them to records. Errors again, because we have to define which record we want to use. And then we can just pick that structure we just created. So the first part is done. So we already have the name, description. We want to version this on GitHub. We have our actions, and we have our structures. So I will click on this button here on top, generate. And since I have the GitHub URL, I need to connect to GitHub to be able to commit my code there and generate all the code there. So I don't have a login. I wanted to show this to you. So I will log in here and just get my code. Okay, so now connected to GitHub. And when you are creating a new project, the first generation, we have two flags to set. First, just to mark if the repository is public or not, right? And if it belongs to an organization. Okay, just because the call for the APIs are different if we are using a personal account or an organizational account. Okay? In this case, I'm using an organizational account, okay, so we will check these ones. And yeah, so let's create the first project. Now, behind the scenes, it's generating all the files, generating all the files that the project needs, and also publishing this and committing this to GitHub. Right? So if we go back now, let me show you this. If we go back to the repository, now it exists, right? And it's here. As soon as we are done, we are moving to this tab, the versions. So here, the same way that we have for the extensions in Service Center, we can see all the versions that were generated. I can click on the version and have a preview of my coding. Right? So I can click and see what was generated. So this is the main action that was generated. And if I want, I can also check what do I have in GitHub. Okay, so this is the same preview, but getting the code from GitHub. Right? And let's see all the structure and everything that was generated. Okay, so I will just open Visual Studio, right, and clone this new repository we just created. Just a few moments so it loads everything. Okay. So as you can see, it's a simple project. It's a library project, nothing special here, but we have the interface. Okay, so that interface that I was showing, it was already created. Okay, so I give it a name, I give a description, and also I set an icon for it. Right? And our action is here. The same way we have the annotation, description, and the type. Okay? In this case, I'm using a structure, so this is the correct value to use. Okay, so we have the interface, we have the action is here, so implementing that interface, and here we will do our coding. Right? And let me show you also here the structures. Right? The structures follow the same pattern, so I will create in this process a single file, and all the structures will be here. Okay? Structures, and I think this is also interesting because I'm also creating the unit tests project. Okay, just to enforce the developers to do unit tests when they are building new code in C#, high code in C#. So the unit test project is already built, is already done. We just have to build our logic here and test it to make sure that it's really working. Right? And now, what do we do with this? So there is a process to upload this code to ODC. So we have to first compile this code. It will generate a lot of files in a publish folder, and we have to zip all these contents and upload to ODC portal. Right? Everything of this is described in OutSystems documentation. Okay? And you can just get it from there. But also to help us with this a little bit, there's here a PowerShell script that was created with the application, right? And it does what I just said. So it just compiles all the code. It will create a new folder for distribution to put the zip, and it will zip everything that was just compiled. Right? So I will just run this one. Okay? It's already done. And now, if we go back here, we can see that we already have our distribution folder. It's already here. And the zip file is here. Right? Now, just to close this process, let's upload this to ODC to see how it looks there. So we can go to our portal. I will go to the external logic menu, create a new library here, and I just have to upload that file. Okay, so let me just copy the folder, okay, this one. Okay, so the zip file is here. I will open it. It's already uploaded. OutSystems is doing the first review just to make sure that the file is correct and it has all the structure that ODC portal needs. So it's already done. We can review the file contents. And as you can see here, we have our extension with the name, description, the icon, our actions, okay, all there, and the structure. Okay. From this point, we just have to publish and release the library. Right? I'm not going to do all the process just because it takes a little bit of time to publish and then to get the reference on an application. But from this, the application is ready. We have to publish, release, and then we can just get these references and use in our ODC application. Right? So let's jump to a second use case. Right? I will go back on this one from the list. I want to create a new one. And now I want to migrate one extension from OutSystems 11 to ODC. Okay? So I will click on this button here from Shift, and I have to pick a file. Okay? One extension file. I think I have it on my desktop. Extension to migrate. Upload. Okay? So in this process, everything was already created. It's done. And I can see here that I had in this extension file two actions, one parse file, another parse file. They have icons, they have descriptions, they have input, they have output, and I also migrated the extensions. Right. So I think this will really help us because imagine that we are migrating to ODC, we have actions with, or extensions with 10 actions, 15 actions, a lot of structure, so we don't have to create everything again. We just have to upload the file and the structure is here. So I can, on this case, just generate this one or generate without using GitHub or using GitHub, open my project, code, and publish, and it will be done. Right? Now, so since I think I still have some time, let's show the AI, because I think this is also interesting. For this, let's go back to our first project, 1.24. So we have this action here, sum values. And the idea of this action is to sum the value 1, value 2, and returns it. Right? To use AI, we have this icon here. So set AI to create action content. I can click on this and just type what I want it to do. I don't have to give any other context because the context is already given by the application. So if I already have other actions there, you already have the signatures, if I already have the structures, everything is here. I just have to type that. I want one action to sum the input values and return it. Input. Okay, so I want an action to sum the input values and return it. That's it. I can do a save and generate again. And now, since this generation, I have this prompt set. We will call AI, try to generate the inner part of the method and give it to us. So we already have here a new version, version 2. Right? If we open this one, right, we can see that here we already have the code that was generated by AI. Okay, so in the first one, let me just go back. So the first version, this is what was generated. We just have the structure declaration. It's a new structure and return it. It's completely empty. Right? And on this one now, okay, so all of this part here was generated by ChatGPT in this case. Right? Sorry. Yeah, so we are creating this structure and you're already defining the value attribute for the output. Okay, so we are creating a new structure, summing the value 1 from here, value 2 from here, and it returns the output here. Right? So these are the main features, right, of the tool. And let me go back to this one now. Right? And what was used to build? ODC, of course, so it's a fully ODC application. There's nothing special here. I used mustache templates to generate the files. So it's a really, really powerful tool to generate files. And we can just have a special syntax with brackets and replace the content of files. We can have for each inside to create actions and so on. Handlebars.net is the engine from mustache templates. Handlebars exists for JavaScript, and there's a port for C#. So I'm using creating mustache templates and using handlebars to set the values to generate the file. I'm also using a Microsoft compiler platform called Roslyn. This is very, very powerful, and it's used to generate code in runtime. Okay? And I don't know, but I guess OutSystems uses it to generate the code when we do a publish there. Okay? And I'm using this to merge files, mostly. Okay? Because imagine that we are working in an application. We created 3-4 actions. We started to code. We have almost everything done, and then we realized that we forgot one attribute, one output, one input attribute. So what is the process? We have to first, if you're using GitHub, commit the code to GitHub first, go to the tool, and then create a new attribute there, or change the structure or anything, and generate again. Okay? So in this case, what I'm doing is getting the new version of the code and merging with what we already have in GitHub. Okay, so this is why this platform is being used to merge the interface files and the classes files, okay, the class files. And GitHub REST API and OpenAI API. So just REST endpoints being called. Okay. And next steps. So I want to integrate GitHub with multiple branches. So currently, it only works with the main. So I can have dev, test, quality, production. I can't have anything. It only publishes and reads things from main. So I want to add the ability to work with different branches for the code. I also want to integrate with Copilot and not only ChatGPT. And when it's done, I want to try to auto-convert or migrate our code from .NET 4.7 to .NET 8. So if you have a big extension file, you already have a lot of code in there, you can upload the extension file and the code will be ready to be published to ODC. We know this is not perfect, it depends on the AI, and we always have to check if the code is really working or not, but at least it will accelerate the process. We will not have to do everything from scratch. And where can you find this? So the tool is already available on ODC Forge. Just search for the external Logic Studio. It's there, it's free, you can just download it. You don't have to worry about application objects because you can run this from dev, just like we do with Discovery in OutSystems 11. Just download, use it from dev, right? And all the coding that was required to create these files, to merge, to everything else, it's also public on GitHub. Right? So if you want to check it, how it is done, or maybe you are installing this for a customer and they want to know what is running behind the scenes and they want to show the customer what is really there, you can clone the repository, create a new extension if you want, replace the references, and then you can see that it's the same code running there.